What makes the Bible such a supreme and perfect standard? Well, let's talk about that because it's actually Yeshua himself who makes the connection for us and shows us how we should perceive and follow any standard that's been established by God. The explanation of this starts way back with Israel wandering in the desert. And after nearly 40 years, they were still grumbling and complaining to God. And with only 6 months left to go, they spoke against God and Moses, saying, "Why have you brought us up out of Egypt to die in a wilderness?" Numbers 21:5. So after 40 long years, God was still invisible and unreal to Israel. They just couldn't see how he was saving and providing for them every step of the way. So to that lack of faith and ungrateful accusation, God answered back with his harsh and condemning response in verse 6. "And Adonai sent among the people the burning, venomous serpents, and they bit the people, and many people of Israel died." So this plague of venomous snakes, of course, got the people's attention, and as usual, the children of Israel instantly regretted the severe discipline they had brought upon themselves. But God already had a plan to remind them of his very real salvation. Israel would receive deliverance and life once again, because the invisible God gave them something to see. Continuing in verse 8 and 9, "And Adonai said to Moses, 'Make for you a burning serpent of brass, and set it on a standard, on a rod or a pole. And it will be, everyone who is bitten and has seen it, he has lived.' And Moses made a serpent of brass and set it on the standard, and it was, if the serpent bit any man, and he looked expectingly to the serpent of brass, he has lived." Now, obviously, God could have simply made the snakes go away, or he could have just kept the people alive without requiring any type of action on their part. But that wouldn't have taught them anything or accomplished God's ultimate goal. Instead, Adonai kept those people from dying first when they looked up toward the standard and the brass serpent, but also when they looked there with expectation. By lifting up a standard, setting something up high above, so that all the people could see it, even from far away, Moses provided a tangible rallying point, a perceptible place of focus to draw the people's attention and hearts toward the source of their deliverance. The upholding of God's standard made God himself visible and real to the people. And as they looked expectantly toward that upraised standard, they experienced the restoration and revival of their lives. So because our minds so quickly forget God, or we choose to ignore him, and our trust in him so easily fades, God establishes his standard for us. He lifts something up high above for us to see so that he might increase our faith and we might believe. And this is why Yeshua taught us in John 3:14 through 16 that just as Moses lifted up the serpent in the desert, so it is necessary for the Son of Man to be lifted up, so that everyone who is believing in him may have life, age enduring. For God so loved the world that the Son, the one and only, he gave." So Yeshua here, by comparing himself to the standard of the brass serpent raised up by Moses, is explaining how he also brings healing and life to all those who look to him. The Master Yeshua, by his life and ultimate sacrifice, being crucified and hung on the execution stake, has been lifted up for us to reconcile all people to God, to focus us on his power and love, and to draw our attention and hearts to the only source of all true redemption and deliverance. In Yeshua, God truly gave the world something awesome, amazing, and astounding to see. And yet, the Messiah's dwelling among men would be brief. The time of Emmanuel, God with us, would barely last a moment. And then, as Yeshua said in John 14:19, "The world will see me no more." After his resurrection, Yeshua ascended to heaven, and he will not return until the end. How then can the world profess the one they haven't known? How now can he become real to us who've never seen him? Because the Master Yeshua has also lifted up a standard. He also set something up high above for all to see, something that focuses us and teaches us and draws us to him. As Yeshua said to his disciples in Luke chapter 24, verses 44 and 45, "It is necessary for all the things that are written about me in the Scriptures to be fulfilled." Then he opened up their understanding to understand the Scriptures. As we look expectantly toward the upraised standard of Messiah, we too experience the restoration and revival of our lives. And by the Spirit of truth, we can know and see the reality of Yeshua by looking faithfully to the standard of Scripture.